there must be an appropriate pedagogy
Hmm.
for the ways of teaching reading and writing. There is a science behind the teaching of reading.
Right.
So everyone in the system, from teachers, teacher educators, must understand what is the best approach to teach reading to children and writing. And therefore, we follow what is called a structured pedagogy, equity. Every child must acquire these foundational skills.
Right.
And therefore, what we really focus on is that identify those learners, those children who are struggling, and support them on an ongoing basis so that they don't fall behind.
Today we have with us Dr. Dheer Jingre, founder director of the Language and Learning Foundation, a non-profit focused on improving foundational learning of children in government primary schools. LLF works closely with state governments to catalyze education system reform at scale in India. Dr. Dheer has worked in the primary education sector for 30 years within and outside the Indian government. Within the government, as an IAS officer, Dr. Dheer served as the Principal Secretary of Education with the Government of Assam, as Director in the Ministry of the Human Resource Development in policy-making roles, and as Project Director of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan. He has also handled several other profiles, such as Senior Advisor to UNICEF India, Advisor to the Ministry of Education in Nepal, Asia Regional Director and Chief Program Officer with Room to Read. He has made significant contributions to the development and implementation of early grade reading programs in several countries in Asia and Africa. Thank you, Dr. Dheer, for being here, and we're really looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you. Thank you, Yamini.
So just to begin with, sir, I think it would be great for us to understand the approach that Language and Learning Foundation is taking towards improving the teaching and learning of early language and literacy and enhancing student learning.
Thanks. I think I'll begin by saying how important are early literacy and numeracy skills. They are a kind of foundation and a gateway to all future learning. For example, if children are not able to read fluently and write independently, they just cannot negotiate the textbooks in future, and they will not learn. They will always struggle.
Right.
And some estimates have put that the children who are at risk of not acquiring foundational skills in India could be as high as about 10 crores.
Right.
We are very happy that the new education policy 2020 has put foundational learning at the center stage and also announced a foundational literacy and numeracy mission.
Right.
Aligned with that, the Language and Learning Foundation works with a few basic principles to your question of approach.
Right.
The first is this, that the education system must understand the crucial importance of foundational learning, that this is where the foundation is laid and this has to be strong. The second is the very clear understanding that learning outcomes cannot be improved unless the teaching and learning process is transformed in the classrooms.
Right.
Children have to become active. The current emphasis on rote memorization and copying must reduce.
Right.
Also, all children should be engaged in speaking, reading, and writing, etc. So that's one set of principles that we firmly believe in and try to implement.
Right.
The second is that there must be an appropriate pedagogy for the ways of teaching reading and writing. There is a science behind the teaching of reading.
Right.
So everyone in the system, from teachers, teacher educators, must understand what is the best approach to teach reading to children and writing. And therefore, we follow what is called a structured pedagogy with a very clear instructional design, materials for children, workbooks, etc., as well as teacher training, teacher guides, etc., which are all aligned to ensure that the teaching of language happens in a particular way in the classroom.
Right.
The other very basic principle of our approach is equity. Every child must acquire these foundational skills.
Right.
And therefore, what we really focus on is that identify those learners, those children who are struggling, and support them on an ongoing basis so that they don't fall behind. Because we know that if children fall behind, they can never catch up later.
Right.
So equity is a very important cornerstone. And the fourth and the most important probably is that we believe in working with the government system. We are not here to work like an NGO, show some change in a few schools. But our idea is this, that how can the government capacity and commitment improve to bring about large-scale transformation in the education system, which is led by them. And that is why we support them as technical partners. To end this, I'll just say that our approach has 3 strands of work. The first is what we call continuous professional development. So everyone in the ecosystem, from teachers, teacher educators, block and cluster people, diets, educational administrators, they should undergo good capacity building programs so that they understand what are good practices for the classroom.
Right.
The second is to be able to demonstrate change in a certain number of schools. Everyone should be able to see that these schools look different. Change has happened. So demonstration is the second important part of our strategy. And the third is some reform in the system. For example, in the pre-service training, in-service training, assessments, monitoring arrangements, etc. So all these 3, continuous professional development, demonstration programs, and system reform, form the basis of our approach to bring about sustainable change in the way foundational learning is taught in the school system today. Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting that, sir. And I think especially the point that you mentioned about system strengthening, which is so important because we already have such an elaborate government system in place. And it's so important to build capacity there rather than reinventing the wheel each time. Right. So I'm going to pull from the NEP that you mentioned. It's brought about some much needed reform, which has been a long time coming. And especially want to, bring your attention to one particular reform where the government has highlighted that wherever possible, the medium of instruction, at least until class 5, but preferably till class 8, should be in the mother tongue or the home language. So can you share your thoughts on early grade literacy programs and the need to include children's languages in the instruction design?
Yeah, very important, because we are launching a foundational literacy and numeracy mission. And if we cannot understand and be sure about the fact that children's languages have to be at the core of this initiative, it is not going to succeed. It is said that reading and writing float in a sea of talk. So the foundation of all literacy learning is children's oral language development.
Right.
And through oral language development, where children are able to comprehend, children are able to respond, express themselves, that can happen only in a familiar language, in a strong language, the language that they've come to school already knowing. Right. So that language must become the foundation of all learning of language as well as other subjects. And this language often, in most parts of India, which they come to school knowing very well, is quite different from the language used at school as the medium of instruction. And that is the big challenge. If we believe that early literacy is not just decoding or to be able to read some words, but it means deep comprehension, the ability to be able to respond to something, then there is no way but to build in very strong language comprehension. A language must be very well understood if children are to learn literacy well and also other subjects well. So what we believe is this, that, and this is based on research evidence from across the world, that reading comprehension includes language comprehension as well as, of course, decoding, the ability to recognize each letter and word and to be able to then, read a sentence. So what is very important is to start with children's languages, to ensure that they develop strong oral language skills, comprehension skills in those languages, and then, of course, build a good understanding of the other languages through that, and supported by that language. And we believe that foundational literacy and numeracy effort will not succeed unless these languages of comprehension, इसको समझ का माध्यम भी कहा जाता है कि जो languages बच्चे समझ सकते हैं, they must find place in the classroom. But as you said, just to the second point that you mentioned, that language situations in India are very, very diverse, actually. And there is no one formula that can be used. Right. There are children who speak a variety of languages. Several languages are inside the classroom, even in one classroom. Children speak different languages. So there's no formula. The basis should be that children's languages are used for comprehension, for expression in the classroom. And the bottom line is the system must believe that multilinguality multilingual awareness that all languages are important. They have to find place in the classroom. A child's language is there, but there's also Hindi, there's also English. And children acquire competence in 2 or more languages. And a variety of strategies can be used for that. But what is most important is the awareness that a classroom should be multilingual.
Right.
Thank you.
I think that's very important, sir, because we're grown up with the schools telling us that we should speak in the language that is the instructional design that the school owns. But then when we look at the entire ecosystem of the child, the language that is spoken at home with family, it becomes important to work with that and include that into instructional design, like you mentioned. Right. Just a follow-up question, sir, to the one above is, so how can we sort of mobilize other stakeholders, be it parents, teachers, institutions, and make them understand the importance of imparting education in regional languages and sort of even equip them with the right skills so they can fully utilize that with their children?
It's an absolutely crucial question. I mean, while we as educationists understand that there'll be better comprehension, they will do well in other subjects if they learn through their language, etc. And also that the best way to learn an unfamiliar language like English is not to start teaching through it, but to learn it slowly and then use it as a medium. But that's because we've looked at research, we know what's best for the child in terms of the child's holistic development. But parents and community rightly have aspirations for their children to learn, let's say, the stronger languages, the languages which they see are the way for upward mobility and for jobs, whether it's the state language or English, let's say. And that has to be taken into account. So what we think is that it's a great communication challenge to be able to get across to parents and communities the fact that using their home language actually helps in better development of the language of the state or even English.
Right.
And we all believe that children should be multilingual and should acquire strong skills in, let's say, English, because that is important. But the route to that is not English medium from the beginning. So how do we communicate this to parents whose aspirations are about learning English? That's very important. The second part is, of course, that for teachers who are used to use pure language. If you don't use a pure language, then if you bring in the home language, that interferes with learning, etc. So what I said previously, generating a multilingual awareness that languages support each other. Yeah. Languages do not develop in isolated compartments. If a child learns to comprehend well in one language, those skills get transferred to other languages also. Yeah. So allow for a classroom to be multilingual, allow for a classroom to have several languages, and children will develop competence even in languages that are less familiar to them. So as you said, the stakeholders in terms of parents, community, and teachers to understand the why of it. Right. And the fact that it will result in better learning, not just of English, but all other subjects. If a lot of work happens in the local language, we need to communicate this in a much better manner to the other stakeholders.
Right. And sir, if I can just ask, what has been your experience of communicating this with other stakeholders?
So we always try and bring on board the community. We have a program in Dungarpur in Rajasthan, Adivasi community. They speak Wagdi, and the children, when they come to school, have very little understanding of Hindi, which is the medium of instruction. And we were very clear that we have to first get a sign-off from the parents in the community and get teachers also to understand why it's important to use children's languages. So the way we communicated to them was, while children need to work through their own languages, home languages in the early years, but this is also a gateway to learn Hindi well and do well at school. Right. And this is the message that we took. We also shared with them about how, while they start with Wagdi, they will soon begin to understand some good Hindi and then be able to do well in Hindi also. Right now, the children are not doing well in Hindi at all. So this is possibly one method through which they can do well. We've had reasonable success in convincing parents, at least in this area. But I agree that it is a challenge And if we do not take the stakeholders along with us from the very beginning, it is very difficult to succeed.
Right, right. So now let's talk about another important stakeholder in the work that you do, which is, the government.
Yeah.
So what has been your experience in collaborative work with the government education system for the professional development and especially for systemic reform? And how far do you think you have come in the journey and what still remains to be accomplished?
Yeah, working with the government is always work in progress.
Right.
Despite the fact that I've been about 26 years in the government, but still, the first thing that helps us is the belief that that's the only way to go. The learning crisis is huge. We can only support and ensure that the state develops capacity and the leadership to be able to take foundation learning to scale. So that's a very strong belief in us, which we work with. We've been fairly successful in collaboration efforts until now. We have medium-term MOUs with 7 state governments.
Right.
And our approach has been, for example, for professional development, as you asked me, has been that this is not LLF's course or LLF's training program. It's the government's program. The government has been at front to say, this is a good program, teachers should sign up for it. Whether it's a 1-year-long program or shorter duration, the government has been at the front. And all our programs have been oversubscribed, people wanting to do these courses. The effort has been that these courses are adopted by state governments and they become government courses and not an NGO's course. Even in terms of systemic reform, we don't start and reach the state government and say, come, we've come here to reform you. No, that's not what we do. And that's not the correct approach. What we do is let the need emerge as work goes on. Let a need emerge about what changes are required in the system to make such reforms sustainable. For example, in Chhattisgarh, we started work with continuous professional development, good training programs. The SCRT there looked at the programs and said, why don't we do it with teachers in their pre-service program, the diploma in elementary education, the 2-year program. And so they decided to reform and change the elementary education program, the diploma program, to include some of these good elements. So the need emerged from, sort of organically. Similarly, in Haryana, we had some good worksheets for children in the classroom. When the SCRT and other organizations looked at it, they found this is something that can go statewide. And they said, let's adopt this. So while our eye is on systemic reform all the time, but we wait for the correct time when governments are ready to introduce some of these things with their support. That's been our process. And a long way to go, as I said, no work in the government can really be always completely successful. Also because the government is they have a huge challenge and huge scale.
Right.
So there are leadership changes, right? Someone as the education secretary and the project director changes, and sometimes priorities change. Right? Sometimes there is no consistent roadmap of how to go, in the next 3 to 5 years, and there are changes every year. So there are challenges. But I think for us, the good thing is the new education policy and the foundational literacy and numeracy mission have kind of created a roadmap. Right. And most governments are likely to follow this roadmap. And therefore, we foresee a greater consistency in our work with the government. But otherwise, our experience with governments has been very, very positive.
Right. That's wonderful to hear, sir. Now, talking about the roadmap ahead and what your vision is for LLF, can you shed some light on an area that you would like to work on in the future and where you see the foundation making a difference going ahead?
Right. So we've been working a lot in the area of early language and literacy, but we definitely know that foundational learning is more than that. It includes numeracy as well.
Right.
Also, this work on foundational learning has to begin before grade 1, class 1, preschool. So we are trying to deepen our work to include some components of numeracy and early childhood education. Even more importantly, since, as I mentioned, that our work is a systems-focused work, government-led work, we are now trying to work with state governments for better design and implementation of the foundational literacy and numeracy mission that the Government of India has announced. And the target is really ambitious, that in the next 5 years, all children should acquire foundational skills. So our effort is now to kind of mainstream the work that we have done and see that it is a part of the planning of governments for the Foundation Literacy and Numeracy mission. And at least in the 7 states that we work, high quality foundation learning programs can be implemented by the system, by the government, with our technical support. We would like them to, like every child, to acquire foundation learning skills through government-led efforts.
Right. Great. Thank you, sir, for sharing that with us. And I think with that, we would like to bring this interview to a close. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. It's been great to hear about LLF's model and the great work that you're doing. And we wish you all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for talking to me and the opportunity to offer my thoughts around our work, as well as what is really good for children and the system in the entire country. Thank you so much, Yamini.